My name is Alara Vance, and I'm 38 years old. I knew something was wrong before I saw it. The house sounded hollow, the kind of quiet that swallows your footsteps and gives nothing back. I dropped my carry-on in the hallway, inhaled the familiar note of machine oil and orange citrus cleaner, and then a colder air hit my skin. I opened the door to the garage. Nothing, not reorganized, not tidied, erased. 6 shadows that should have been there, gone. The Mustang Fastback, the 71 Cuda, the Charger, the Chevelle SS, the 73 Porsche 911 Carrera RS, the Camaro Z-28, 10 years of weekends, busted knuckles, and patient granular joy, vacant as a bad apology. Surprise, Brent sang from the kitchen. His voice floated in like a commercial jingle. I finally solved your hoarding problem. I didn't move. My what? Hoarding. Baby, those rusty relics were eating your life. I donated them. He rounded the corner, chin up, fob, like a hero returning with bread for the village. 36 and forever auditioning. To a children's charity. Isn't that amazing? Imagine the tax write-off. The word donated did a slow rotation, then lodged like a bolt under my tongue. When I turned, the world had that bright, unreal tilt of a car accident. Show me the receipt, I said. He flashed his laptop, grinning at the screen as if it would grin back. Helping Hands Children's Foundation. 6 vehicles listed. Estimated total value, $30,000. A pickup timestamp, yesterday morning. An address that wasn't a charity at all. Warehouse-like, industrial park, near the docks. 30,000, I echoed. I know, he laughed. More than I expected for that junk. I let the silence stretch until he started to fidget. Then I took out my phone and opened a folder I'd labeled, not if, but when. Haggerty Valuations, 6 months ago. I kept my tone clinical. 1967 Mustang Fastback, $385,000. 1971 Plymouth Cuda, $450,000. 1969 Dodge Charger RT, $420,000. 1970 Chevelle SS 454, $380,000. 1973 Porsche 911 Carrera RS, $485,000. 1969 Camaro Z-28, $315,000. Total $2,435,000. Color drained from his face so fast I watched it leave. That's impossible. They were in climate-controlled storage under custom covers, I said softly. What you called rust is original patina on parts waiting their turn. You didn't donate junk, Brent. You disposed of a collection. His smile cracked. Okay, but we're a team. What's yours is not in this state. Not for premarital assets kept separate and titled solely in my name, which they are. I flipped to the PDFs. Titles, insurance policies, agreed value coverage. He swallowed. They already picked them up. Yesterday. The foundation said... The foundation was registered 3 weeks ago, I said, tapping the header address. And this location? I zoomed in. Premier Auto Exports. What do they export, Brent? He didn't answer. I'd already made calls from the driveway. Insurance. Active. Lawyer. Available. The auction house that appraised the collection, ready to confirm in writing. My fingertips still remembered the quick choreography of it. Hold music, case numbers, new email threads blooming like searchlights. Brent's phone lit up on the counter. He hesitated, then put it on speaker. Curtis, he said too loud. Hey man, perfect timing. Tell Alara we're good for the deduction. Brent, Curtis cut in, voice thinned by urgency. We have a serious problem. The IRS just flagged your charitable donation. You claim $30,000, but they received third-party documentation indicating the vehicle's valuation exceeded $2.4 million. A glacial quiet passed between us. Curtis kept going, all triage. They'll assess taxes on the differential and may impose penalties for false valuation. If they believe there's intent, we're in fraud territory. We need full documentation now. Provenance, titles, anything. Brent's mouth opened, then closed. I didn't know. I thought... Curtis exhaled. Who owned the cars? Alara, I said, because there was no point watching him drown. Then the IRS will ask why you filed the deduction, Curtis said. Email me everything. Now. The line clicked dead. Brent looked smaller when he finally met my eyes. I did this for us. You did this to us, I said. And to me. To my grandfather's legacy, and to a decade I can't live twice. He reached for charm like a broken tool. We can fix it. We call the charity. Which part do you want to fix first? I asked. The non-existent 501c3 history? The warehouse that ships cars overseas? The titles you didn't own? The deduction you signed? A tremor moved through him, visible as heat on asphalt. Don't talk to me like I'm a criminal. Then stop behaving like one. The house hummed with the refrigerator and our two hearts. Outside, the street rubbed by in a hush of tires. In the doorway to the garage, the absence grew teeth. Pack a bag, I said, and my voice surprised even me with its steadiness. You're not sleeping here tonight. He laughed, high and thin. You're overreacting. Brent, I said, and the way his name landed told us both it was over. The FBI is very fast when containers are headed for water. His eyes flicked to the laptop. For the first time since I'd walked in, he looked scared. Somewhere in the distance, a siren started up. First faint, then nearer, threading itself into the evening like a prophecy. I didn't move. I just watched it arrive. When Brent left that night, I thought it would end there. Guilt, distance, paperwork. But narcissists don't exit quietly. They orbit, looking for gravity to steal. He showed up the next morning with a smile that didn't touch his eyes. Let's not make this a war, Ilara, he said, setting 2 coffees on the counter like peace offerings. We both made mistakes. I folded my arms. Name one of mine. You got too attached to things. You let objects become people. Those cars were walls between us. I laughed, sharp as static. Those cars were mine. You were the one trespassing. He blinked, thrown off by how calm I sounded. That was when the prayer began. The 5 acts of denial every self-styled victim recites when they've been caught. That didn't happen. If it did, it wasn't that bad. If it was, it's not a big deal. If it is, it's not my fault. And if it was, you deserved it. He ran through them all like choreography. Maybe you overvalued them, he started. I have the insurance papers, I replied. They were just sitting there collecting dust. They were investment assets under restoration. You're making this bigger than it is. It's $2.4 million, Brent. He slammed the coffee lid shut, splattering brown arcs on the marble. This obsession of yours, it's unhealthy. I did us both a favor. Ah, I said quietly, the benevolent thief. His nostrils flared. You always have to win, don't you? I pointed to the stack of folders on the table. No, I just keep receipts. When logic failed, he reached for sympathy. You know I was trying to help with our finances. I thought you'd appreciate it. Did you appreciate calling the IRS your personal slot machine? He winced. We can talk to my mom. She'll understand. He actually dialed her in front of me, putting Dolores on speaker. Mom, she's being impossible, he began, voice trembling with fake indignation. She's threatening to ruin my life over some... Brent, Dolores interrupted, her tone all mother and no mercy. Please tell me you didn't touch Ilara's vintage cars. Well, technically, she's been restoring those since before she met you. Everyone knows that. I saw her drive that silver Porsche to your cousin's wedding. You bragged about it, remember? The color drained from his face. Dolores sighed, long and weary. I raised you better than this. You fix it, and you stay away from her until you do. Then she hung up. The silence that followed was exquisite. Brent's chest rose once, twice. Then the mask slipped back on. She always takes your side. No, I said. She just recognizes property law. He tried again, softer. Can we start over? Counseling, maybe? I'll call that charity. Get them to reverse it. Reverse it? They were never real. I leaned closer. You didn't donate anything, Brent. You handed $2.4 million of titled vehicles to a theft ring. The FBI has one already recovered. He stared, blinking like he hadn't heard English before. And, I added, you signed the deduction form yourself. So legally, this isn't my mess. It's yours. That's when his face twisted into desperation. You can't just abandon me. I'm your boyfriend. Were. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. What if I said I did it because I was scared you'd leave me? Because you were obsessed with those cars, not me? I stared back. Then you proved me right. He froze. For a heartbeat, he looked 12 years old, confused, cornered. Then came the final act of his performance, manipulation. I can't go anywhere, he whispered, because... He paused for drama, eyes glassy. Because I'm going to be a father. My pulse didn't even spike. I just tilted my head. Really? You might want to tell the pharmacy that, since your birth control pills are still in the cabinet and the current one's half empty. The flicker of panic in his eyes was almost cinematic. You're insane. No, I said, just observant. He stormed toward the door, grabbing his jacket. You'll regret this. You'll see how cruel you are when I'm gone. I let him leave. That night, my phone lit up like a slot machine. 70 plus texts. Baby, please, let's talk. You're overreacting. You always loved those cars more than me. No one will ever love you like I do. I didn't respond. The next morning, my lawyer filed for a civil suit and notified the authorities about the fraudulent donation. By afternoon, the locks were changed, the alarms reset, and my house felt like mine again. Quiet, orderly, safe. Still, that silence carried a hum beneath it, like static before a storm. I didn't know it yet, but Brent wasn't done performing. He was just rehearsing his next act, for an audience much bigger than me. The storm arrived 3 days later, not with thunder, but with a Facebook post. Brent Wilder, public status. Sometimes people care more about metal than marriage. I gave up 6 old cars to help sick kids, and now I'm being punished for it. When love turns cold, so does the house you built together. The caption shimmered with false nobility. The photo beneath it? Him, standing in my empty garage, holding a mug like a war trophy. Within minutes, the comments began. Didn't you brag those cars were worth millions? Didn't you post from a Porsche last month? Why are you lying, Brent? And the best one, from his own coworker. So, you donated property that wasn't yours? Dude. The internet tore him apart before I even opened my laptop. I didn't have to defend myself. His own past did it for me. Still, he tried to drag me down with him. He tagged me in every post, called me materialistic, heartless, emotionally unavailable. I said nothing, but someone else did. Chloe, his ex-girlfriend's best friend, DM'd me that night. Her message began with, "You don't know me, but I think you should see this." Attached were screenshots, conversations between Brent and his ex, Bianca, dated 2 months earlier. Brent, she'll learn not to choose those cars over me. Bianca, you're really doing it? Brent, yep. Found a charity site that takes vehicles. She'll freak when they're gone. Bianca, petty, but kinda hot. I scrolled through them twice before my hands stopped shaking. Bianca. The name rang a faint bell. His old friend, the one he swore he hadn't spoken to in years. My stomach turned cold. This hadn't been a spontaneous act of stupidity. It had been revenge, dressed as charity. I forwarded everything to my lawyer, who replied almost instantly, "This changes everything. Keep all communication. FBI contact coming soon." That night, as if on cue, a black SUV idled quietly in front of my house. 2 agents stepped out, Special Agent Morales and Agent Kwan. Polite, concise, serious. "Ms. Vance," Morales said, flipping open his badge. "We're investigating a vehicle donation scam involving a fraudulent nonprofit, Helping Hands Children's Foundation. Your name came up as a victim." "They have one of my cars," I said before he could finish. "Or they did." Kwan nodded. "The Porsche 911 Carrera RS. It was intercepted in a shipping container bound for Dubai." The sound that escaped me wasn't quite a laugh. "You're kidding." "I wish I were," Morales said. "The rest are still being traced. We believe the foundation is a front for Premier Auto Exports. They've been moving high-value classics through fake donations for months." Brent's signature was on every form. The agent's expression told me that wasn't an accident. "Could he face charges?" I asked. Morales closed his notebook. "If intent can be proven, yes. Right now, it looks deliberate." When they left, the porch light hummed softly over my head, catching the last breath of evening rain. I stood there, shoes sinking slightly into the wet wood, feeling something between grief and grim satisfaction. Brent texted an hour later. "You called the cops on me? After everything I did for us?" I typed a single response and hit send. "You did this to yourself." By morning, he'd been served with legal notice and a restraining order to collect any remaining personal items under supervision. But the internet wasn't done with him. His public sympathy posts had gone viral, for all the wrong reasons. Bianca's cousin, apparently furious at being tagged in one of Brent's old photos, commented publicly, "Funny, weren't you in Napa with Bianca the weekend you said Alara ignored you for a car show?" That was the first thread that began to unravel his double life. Within hours, the screenshots spread to Reddit, then Twitter. Someone found that the so-called charity's domain had been registered from Brent's own email. The comments turned savage. "Bro didn't donate, he laundered." Plot twist. The kids he helped were mechanics in Dubai. By noon, his employer had suspended him pending investigation. That evening, I got another call. Dolores again, his mother. Her voice trembled, thinner than the first time we spoke. Ilara, the FBI came to my house today, she said. They asked questions about Brent, about Bianca, about some investment company called Infinity Wealth. I had no idea. I believe you, I said softly. Is he going to jail? That's not up to me anymore. There was a pause, then a sigh that sounded like something breaking. I'm sorry. For everything. After we hung up, I sat in the garage again, on the concrete where the Mustang used to rest. My hands traced the faint outlines of where the tires had sat for years, like ghosts pressed into the dust. It was quiet, too quiet. But this time it didn't scare me. It sounded like closure warming up its engine. Somewhere out there, Brent was still posting, still spinning his story for strangers. But stories only work when someone believes them. And the world had finally stopped believing him. If exposure was the first cut, truth was the slow bleed. 2 weeks after Brent's implosion online, my lawyer forwarded an email from the IRS Criminal Investigation Unit. They wanted to meet, in person. At their downtown office, fluorescent lights buzzed overhead like restless flies. The lead investigator, Agent Morales, slid a thin folder across the table. Ms. Vance, we believe your ex-boyfriend wasn't acting alone. He opened the folder, revealing photos of 3 other women. Different states, same pattern. Each had reported assets donated by a partner while they were conveniently out of town. I leaned forward. So it's organized. He nodded. We think your case was the prototype. The Helping Hands Children's Foundation was registered by someone named Jessa Cross. Does that name mean anything to you? It did. I'd seen it once, on a text from Brent months earlier. Jessa says her firm can double my returns this quarter. Jessa's an investment advisor, I said. At least that's what he called her. Morales allowed himself a dry smile. That's one word for it. She runs a shell company, Infinity Wealth Ventures. Money from that company has been traced to Brent's accounts and the fraudulent charity. She's likely the architect. For a second, the room tilted. Brent hadn't just been jealous. He'd been coached, manipulated by someone who knew how to weaponize vanity. Does that mean he's off the hook? I asked. Not quite. We have witness testimony suggesting he helped recruit others, including 2 husbands whose property was also donated. My jaw clenched. So he made this a team sport. Morales flipped a page. One of those women, Rebecca Thornton, has agreed to cooperate in exchange for reduced sentencing. She claims Brent was the one who introduced her to Jessa, explaining how to fake ownership documents and file the tax deduction. I felt something between fury and disbelief. He turned my inheritance into a business model. That's about the size of it. Morales closed the folder. You're free to go, but if he reaches out, document everything. That if didn't take long. That evening, Brent showed up at my house again, but he didn't come alone. Jessa Cross stepped out of the passenger seat of a slate gray Tesla, all angles and perfume, her heels clicking on my driveway like punctuation. Ilara, Brent called, holding his hands up. We just want to talk. I folded my arms at the door. You have exactly 2 minutes before I call the police. Jessa smiled like a shark in lipstick. Let's be civil. There's no need for hostility. Hostility? I said. You created a fake charity and shipped my grandfather's cars overseas. I'm being polite. Brent shifted, glancing nervously between us. Jessa says we can fix this. There's a legal strategy. There's a federal investigation, I cut in, and you've both been named in it. Jessa's face didn't move, but something flickered behind her eyes. You think they'll listen to you? You're just a bitter ex trying to ruin his life. I stepped forward until we were eye to eye. They don't need to listen to me. They have paper trails, bank records, chat logs, the Porsche. Brent's voice cracked. They recovered the Porsche? Bound for Dubai, I said evenly. Your signature on the export form. For the first time, he actually looked scared. I didn't. She told me, save it for the agents, I said. Jessa touched his arm, voice low and silky. Come on, Brent. She's bluffing. I'm not. I opened the door wider, holding up my phone. Smile for the cameras. The security feed's been recording since you pulled up. That broke her composure. You'll regret this, she hissed. You're not as innocent as you think. Maybe not, I said, but I'm free. Can you say the same? Jessa turned on her heel, heels sparking against the concrete. Brent followed, pale and shaking, muttering something about misunderstandings. The Tesla peeled away, headlights slicing through the dusk like scalpels. By the next morning, my inbox was full. Morales again. Good news. Rebecca Thornton's cooperation led to a warrant. Cross and Wilder will be brought in for questioning this week. I exhaled slowly, hands trembling. And then came one more text from an unknown number. You think you've won. You haven't. J. I stared at it, heart thudding once, twice. Then I forwarded it straight to Morales with a single line. Adding this to evidence. He replied within minutes. You did the right thing. Stay alert. That night, I sat in the garage again. New lighting installed, fresh coat of epoxy on the floor, the air faintly smelling of hope and citrus polish. The space still looked empty, but the absence felt different now. Not grief, clarity. I wasn't mourning what Brent stole anymore. I was remembering what I built before he arrived. And maybe, just maybe, what I'd rebuild after he was gone. The following weeks felt like justice moving in slow motion. Paper cuts turning into scars you could live with. When the FBI finally raided Jessa Cross's offices, they found what they needed. Falsified tax forms, shipping invoices for vehicles bound for Dubai and Japan, and a spreadsheet labeled donor targets. Brent's name appeared 24 times. My cars were the top-line item. He was arrested the next day outside his condo, still wearing the same bomber jacket he'd worn the night he told me. It's not that serious. The photo made the evening news. Brent Wilder, 36, under federal investigation for charity fraud and tax evasion. I didn't celebrate. I just made tea, stirred in honey, and watched the steam curl like closure learning how to breathe. At trial, his arrogance cracked like old paint. He tried everything, claimed he'd been manipulated, that he didn't understand the paperwork, that Jessa had seduced him into crime. The courtroom didn't buy it. Neither did Jessa, who turned on him mid-hearing, testifying that Brent coordinated the donations, handled pickup logistics, and personally convinced the other donors to undervalue their assets for bigger write-offs. When they read the verdict, guilty on counts of fraud, wire transfer deception, and misappropriation of property, he didn't even look at me. Jessa got 5 years, Brent got 18 months federal prison, 3 years probation, and $2.4 million in restitution. He'll be paying off debts until the world forgets his name. 3 of my 6 cars were recovered: the Mustang, the Charger, and the Camaro. The Chevelle and the Cuda were long gone, sold to private collectors in Japan. The Porsche, my grandfather's favorite, was safe but scarred. Paint chipped, odometer cracked, trunk stripped bare. I paid for restoration anyway, not because I wanted perfection, but because she deserved to live again. Insurance covered the rest, and the settlement from the civil case added enough to rebuild the garage properly. But money was never the point. Some things you restore for the art of forgiveness. Dolores sent a letter a month after sentencing. Elara, I know an apology doesn't fix it, but thank you for handling this with more grace than my son deserved. I hope you find peace. I kept it pinned inside the new workshop, between the framed title of the restored Mustang and a black and white photo of my grandfather. Brent's family never visited him in prison. His lawyer said he'd taken to complaining about the manual labor assigned there. Fitting, considering what kind of labor it was: vehicle maintenance. A guard emailed my attorney a short note that made me laugh out loud. He hates changing oil. They call him wrench. Karma, I thought, prefers practical irony. By spring, I was attending car shows again, this time not as a collector hiding behind nostalgia, but as someone unafraid to take up space. That's where I met Lewis Hale, a mechanic with ink-stained hands and a grin that didn't sell anything. He admired the Porsche without asking what it was worth. Paint like that, he said, tells a story. It does, I answered. It's a long one. We didn't rush into anything. Lewis understood that rebuilding takes patience, that some engines, like trust, don't start on the first turn. Sometimes I still get letters from Brent. My lawyer files them without opening. But once, curiosity got the better of me. I held one up to the light, just enough to see the header. A sketch of a car, badly drawn, childish lines. Underneath, you'll always love the machines more than people. He wasn't wrong, just incomplete. I love what machines represent: effort, design, cause, and effect. When something breaks, you find the part, you fix it. You don't lie or cheat or donate it to a fake charity. Now, on weekends, I work beside Lewis in the garage. We rebuild piece by piece, breathing life back into engines older than either of us. The air smells like steel, oil, and something almost like peace. Sometimes I catch myself tracing the glove box where my grandfather once carved his initials. He'd said, "Take care of what lasts, and it'll take care of you." He was right. Brent will get out soon, a convicted felon with debts he can't erase. I'll probably be at a car show that day, sunlight in my hair, a wrench in my hand, and a man beside me who doesn't flinch when I speak my truth. Living well isn't the best revenge. Living free is.